about another question we might be able to ask. Another what, why, or how question we could ask about white holes. Or even a where question. So what, why, how, or where maybe. Can anyone think of another question to add?
Where is the white hole?
All right, so very good. So we can add a where. Where are white holes found? Okay, good job. That we might be able to ask.
Who found out black hole?
Okay, so it said who discovered white holes.
What if we combined a black hole and a white hole?
Okay. What is the difference between black holes and white holes?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so it's another good one. How dense is a white hole? So density refers to the molecules in an object. So when something is dense, the molecules are packed very tightly together. And when something is not dense, the molecules are spread out. So something that is dense, you cannot put your hand through. Like this notebook is not dense. Planning, so when you are doing your planning, or as you're writing, you can always go back and add more questions. You can add extra information. That's why we do our planning first, to make sure that we have everything we need before we start writing. So reducing the spread of coronavirus. So we have our what question. What is coronavirus? Why? Why do we need to stop the virus spreading? And how? How do we stop the virus from spreading? So what do we think of these questions? Ciro, can you tell me? Are we going to get good information from answering these 3 questions? Ciro, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, what do you think about these 3 questions?
What is coronavirus?
So let's just look at the ones in black for now. What is coronavirus? Why do we need to stop the virus from spreading? And how do we stop the virus from spreading? Are these good questions to ask?
Yeah.
Yes, I think so.
I think so, but how did the virus spread from country to country?
How did the virus spread from country to country? Okay. Where did the coronavirus start? So we have how to make a homemade pizza. So our what questions are, what ingredients do I need for pizza? What temperature do I need to set to make the pizza crust crunchy? Our why questions, why do we need to shape the dough in a circle but not a triangle shape? Why can't I make the pizza burn a little bit but must make it yellow and yummy? And our how questions, how can I make a good, perfect, yummy pizza? And how can I make my customers happy and will always come back to my restaurant? So looking at these questions, does anyone see a question that maybe does not belong in this, in our chart here? Who sees a question that does not belong? So let's go back to our topic and say we are talking specifically about homemade pizza. Does anyone see something that does not belong in our homemade pizza chart?
How could I make my customers happy and will always come back to my restaurant?
Yes. Okay. How can I make my customers happy and will always come back to my restaurant? So does that talk about homemade pizza or pizza from a restaurant?
Pizza from a restaurant.
Okay, so make sure we're checking. Do all of my questions or does all of my facts and information support my main idea or my topic?
I will add more question. A how question.
And what's your how question?
What ingredients? I don't know.
Jon Snow, can you think of a where question for us?
Where was Pizza Hut made?
Okay. So where was pizza first made? Say, where?
How can we make pizza?
Well, I think that's the entire topic is how can we make pizza, right? So these are all questions about making homemade pizza.
What is the history of pizza?
Okay, so we can also say what, maybe give a little bit of background information. What is the history of, so these are the questions that we came up with together. What is an International Space Station? What are some different parts of an International Space Station? Why is there an International Space Station? Why is it so big? How does it work? And how are astronauts working in an International Space Station during COVID-19? So, Richard, when we go to answer these questions, are we just using answers that we think of in our own heads?
Miss Lisa, you forgot to unmute me.
How can we get answers to these questions?
We check it on the web.
Yep, we need to do research, right? This is an informational essay. So we need to research and find actual facts and information from a source. Okay, so we are going to watch a quick video about the International Space Station. So as we watch this video, I want everyone to take notes. So get a pen or pencil and a piece of paper. Okay, we're going to take notes. Okay, so our what questions. Who can tell me, Mitzi, what is the International Space Station?
The International Space Station is a place in space that astronauts live to study about space.
Spaceship in space where scientists live to conduct experiments. So, the International Space Station is a spaceship in space where scientists live to conduct experiments. All right. What are some different parts of the International Space Station? Who can tell me what one of the parts of our space station is? Kent?
The part of the space station, solar panel,
And why do we need solar panels?
to provide energy for the space station.
Did anyone else see another part of our space station?
The robot arm.
The robot arm. And do you remember what the robot arm does?
Carry things through outspace.
To carry things like a suitcase?
No.
It says astronauts inside the station use this arm by remote control to do what?
To fix things outside.
Yep, to fix things on the outside. All right, Bill, what's another part of our space station?
The robot.
And what does the robot do?
It can walk in space outside to work.
All right, Bill, what's our robot's name?
It's Robonaut 2.
Robonaut 2 does what?
Scientists to see what the robot works.
Okay, to see if robots work as well in space as they do on Earth. Okay. Are there any other parts that we saw? Sky, did you see any other parts of our space station?
In the space station has 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a kitchen, which astronauts call a galley.
Our space station also has 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a kitchen that they call the galley. Parts of our space station. Okay, so let me move these around and we'll use this when we do our plan. Okay, so look at from this one question, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 different facts. All right, so let's look at some other questions here. Why does the International Space Station exist? Did anyone see that on this video? And let's go, how does the International Space Station work? Tuệ Minh, how does the International Space Station work?
Astronauts from the International Space Station will go for a spacewalk to gather information to do science experiments, and they don't go out into space very often.
Okay, so astronauts will gather information to do experiments. And that you said they don't go out into space very often. Our last question that we came up with yesterday, how are astronauts working in this ISS during COVID-19? So remember, ISS is a shortened version of International Space Station. So I have an article that we can read about this. So let's check another source. So this time, it's going to be an article. So it says, Space Station astronauts docked at ISS, leaving COVID-19 pandemic behind. So I'm going to look through this article and see, is there information that tells me the answer to my question? Astronauts routinely go into quarantine ahead of space missions and give a final press conference at Baikonur from behind a glass wall to protect them from infection. That process began even earlier than usual last month as the trio and their reserve crew hunkered down in Russia's Star City Training Center outside Moscow, eschewing traditional pre-launch rituals and visits to the capital. The next crew to return to Earth from the ISS will be flying to their home countries on April 17th to Baikonur rather than the Karaganda in central Kazakhstan as usual, as part of new travel measures related to the pandemic. Is there anything different about what the astronauts did this time to prepare?
The process began even earlier than usual last month as the trio and reserve crew hunkered down in Russia's Star City Training Center is outside Moscow, eschewing traditional pre-launch rituals and visits to the capital.
So we can go back to, we can say, astronauts spent extra time in quarantine before their space mission. Okay, so now we have all of these answers to our questions. Did anyone see any more information about the space station that they thought was interesting? All right, so let's look at the information we have so far and see how can we organize this information in our planning. Playing a game on here. Okay, so these are some answers to our questions. So let's choose 3 pieces of information that would be good to use for 3 different main ideas. Because when we do our planning, just like in the example about our Japanese Children's Day in Japan, right? We had 3 main ideas. Children's Day is a holiday in Japan. Japanese families decorate their homes for Children's Day, and people eat special foods for Children's Day. So let's take the information that we have and come up with 3 main ideas for our space, for our International Space Station. So who sees any information here that might make a good main idea? Tuelam?
I think the different part of the International Space Station.
Okay, so that has a lot of details that we could use. So how could we make that into a main idea? It's in a question form now, so how can we write that so it sounds more like a main idea?
At the International Space Station, there is
So instead of saying there is, we'll just say the International Space Station has.
many parts.
Many different parts. Okay, so that is a good main idea. The International Space Station has many different parts. Okay, so then next we need to add some facts and examples to this main idea. So we can go back to what information did we learn about the different parts? Okay, so let's choose 2 of these. So B, are you there? Can you choose a detail about the different parts of the ISS?
The solar panels provide energy for space station.
Okay, good job. So as a fact or an example, we will write solar panels provide energy for the space station. Okay, good job. And what might be another good fact or example to use? Chimai. Chimai, are you there?
No.
Can you choose another interesting fact or example about the different parts of the space station? Chimai, are you there? Okay, can you give me another fact or example that tells about the different parts of the space station?
The International Space Station
Okay, good job.
by the remote control.
Yes. There is a remote control arm that fixes things on the outside of the station. Okay, good job, Boo. So those are 2 facts and details that tell more about the International Space Station's many parts. Okay, what else can we say? What would be another good main idea? Elsa, what would be another good main idea to include in our... Elsa, are you there?
Yes.
So we've already talked about the different parts of the International Space Station. What was our first question that we asked? What is the first question that we asked about the International Space Station?
What is the International Space Station?
And do we have an answer for this?
Yes.
Tell me, what is our answer that we found out?
The International Space Station is a spaceship in space where scientists live to conduct experiments.
Okay. The International Space Station is where astronauts go to conduct experiments. Okay, very good. And where is the International Space Station located? Feng Dao, can you tell us? Where is it located?
It is located in
Doing this, we need to make sure we're using correct facts. So it's okay to go back to your source and check again. So what did she say about where it is, Feng Dao?
it is
It is in the space.
And is it near Earth or is it far away?
Near.
Yep, it's an orbit. So an orbit means it goes around just above Earth. Okay, so that will be one of our details. Plan, say it is in orbit just above Earth. And let's go on to another main idea.
Above us.
Yep, that's what we have already. Pizza, what else?
It is in orbit far above us.
Oh, it's just above Earth. It's in Earth's orbit, which means it's still in its gravitational pull area. It sticks right near Earth. All right, so let's go look at something else. And our answer was astronauts will gather information to do experiments. They don't go out into space very often. So between that information, what would be a good main idea to put, James?
I don't know.
So all of the information is right in front of you on the screen. James, do you see it?
Yes.
We have how does the International Space Station work? And then we have our answers. Astronauts will give information to do experiments. Sorry, astronauts will gather information to do experiments. They don't go out into space very often. So what could we say as a main idea for this?
Astronauts will gather information to do experiments.
Okay, so that is a good. Okay, and what is another detail that we can add to support this main idea? Boo, what's a good detail to add here? What else did we find out about those astronauts in space?
What?
Did you hear the question?
No.
What else did we find out about astronauts gathering information about space? Well, I just had it up there. So it says here, astronauts will gather information to do experiments. They don't go out into space very often. So what information do we...
Astronauts do experiments. They don't go out into space very often.
know? Who has more information about our astronauts? Say, Sky, did you come up with any more information?
I don't have any more.
No more? Okay, so we'll stop there. So this is an example of how to do your plan. Okay, so I'm going to send this home as our example. And then for homework today, you are going to answer the questions that you came up with from yesterday. Okay, so all the questions that you had in your graphic organizer, you're going to answer them. You're going to choose 3 facts to use as main ideas for your essay, and then write 2 to 3 facts and examples to support each main idea. Okay, just like we did together as a group. So separating main idea from details. Okay, so I'll type it into the chat if you need it. So need to go to joinmyquiz.com, and a code is 813